We've got a winter storm that's working across the country today, tonight, another one into the west that's going to move east as we head into the weekend. But we're also going to talk about in this video the long-term outlook. Now, I get it. They're shoddy at best, right? But the idea that we stay cold and active is there, and I want to show you why. This is a look at the upper-level pattern over the next couple of weeks. A little bit of warm air across the south. I think we're going to stay relatively above average here. However, across the North Pole, we're still all messed up with your polar vortex completely collapsed. And that puts your polar vortex now down into parts of Canada. And let me tell you something. Heading into this weekend, we could have one heck of a storm. That's going to put some severe weather into the south. I think there's a high risk of tornadoes, especially Saturday into Sunday maybe, and then into the northeast. From really the Midwest, I think, into the Great Lakes, up into the Northeast. Watch this region for some heavy snow, especially if you can get this negatively tilted trough like what we're seeing. Surface low pressure developing along the coast, getting really deep. How far inland will it be? Still to be determined, but definitely an active setup. And this continues as we head into the following week. So really incredible to see some of these models. If you really take it out further, now once you head towards the end of the month, something that you kind of look at too is your pattern, and you're definitely seeing a trough here across the central and eastern United States. To me, I mean, this looks like a stormy pattern. Now, if this ridge here was here, which it's not, I would tell you you're probably in for an early spring across the east. However, this is looking to me like a really active pattern with multiple storms on the way. Timing that out, completely impossible, but this also puts your moisture flow north into British Columbia, also the Pacific Northwest versus Southern California. However, who's to say we couldn't get a storm or two sneaking in here, which starts to be normal as we head into March. And it looks like our jet stream drops a little bit to the south as we head toward the middle part of the month. That's March, right? That's a long way from now. Another thing that's a long way from now, some of these long range models, when you push them out really far, this is the European snow output through Friday. And then heading into Saturday, some more snow picking up, and then the models are starting to pick up on some other storms that are trying to form, but I think the jury's still out on exactly where those will be. Let's talk about what's looking certain for right now. We've got the snow that's going to be moving out of the central United States into the Great Lakes. Some decent accumulation out of this, 6+ inches in some areas. More ice here from the Appalachians north into parts of the Northeast, and some heavy snow also possible for parts of Maine. Some that could really add up over 10 inches, especially in the northern parts of the state. Big storm moving into the west, too. That will really start to pick up as we head into Wednesday. Extreme winds, too. Could gust up to 75 in some of the mountains, and an extreme flooding danger, and not just that, but landslide danger across Southern California, where we've had the burn scars from the fires. A big problem here that's just going to be aggravated by that problem with the burn scars. Snow across the west is going to continue to grow, and then as we head into Friday, we're fairly quiet across the east. Some snow starts to break out, though, on Saturday, really Friday night into early Saturday, across parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota. This would really be Friday night, and then this pushes east into early Saturday morning, but low pressure developing here across the southern plains will start to push east. We'll get some more snow out ahead of this, pushing into parts of New York, into the Great Lakes, into southern Ontario, maybe even northern Ohio. You might get a little bit of snow out of this. It's going to be very close. But now our storm across the south starts to push northeast like this up through the Tennessee Valley. It's going to drag a cold front through the south, and that's what's going to bring the severe weather as we head into Saturday. The Storm Prediction Center really highlighting this area. We're going to look at that in just a second. It's pretty odd to see an outlook this strong on day 4 from them especially. So there's some of the smartest people in the world, in my opinion, at the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. So always take what they say and look at it and go, well, this is pretty interesting to see. Another thing that I think is super interesting too is up here's your polar vortex just spinning as this energy just rotates around it like this with the jet stream. Strong upper level winds too across the south is going to drive those severe thunderstorms, but it's also going to allow strong surface low pressure to develop and move northeast. A lot of diffluence that's in the upper atmosphere where we're spreading out the wind, and that's going to really allow low pressure to strengthen, and that could put a really heavy band of snow on the backside of this wherever it goes. Now, we may start some rain across central Illinois, central Indiana, but look, behind it, some snow developing. Maybe some more snow into Chicago. I understand some of you may be upset you didn't get a foot of snow, but by the time it's all said and done, I mean, look, this is pretty interesting. You're going to get a couple more inches of snow out of this, and then into Detroit, very close for you. Southern Michigan looks like snow on this, and then the backside of it, we get the snow starting to transition here across western PA down into the mountains of West Virginia, southwest Virginia, western North Carolina. Maybe some upslope snow showers going here. They don't move very far east of the mountains, and then strong low pressure moving through the northeast. Rain along the coast, maybe some ice too into parts of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then we flip over to some snow to end things. Pretty wild to see that. This is the GFS taking us through today, and I just want to look at this storm as it moves out of the west for some comparison. The GFS is a little bit heavier with that snow and a little bit further to the south. So stay tuned over the next day or so as this gets refined. And then here comes surface low pressure, bringing possibly a second round. So an extended period of snow possible for some of these areas. There's your severe weather across the south. It looks very similar with your low moving to the north. And behind this, again, I think we stay pretty active with more storms possible. Now, timing these out, exactly where they will be a week from now is, again, difficult at best. Let's go with what looks pretty certain over the next 24 hours. The strong thunderstorms across the south will be around today, so watch out as we move through East Texas into the afternoon, into Louisiana, maybe as far north as Arkansas, and then into Mississippi. Some of these could create some strong damaging winds, some supercells where you get some tornadoes too. It's one of the reasons that you're starting to see this outlook from the Storm Prediction Center pretty high here, at least a 2 out of 5. But what is more interesting is the tornado outlook for today across the south. Definitely a higher area here showing up across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama into Georgia. And then as we head into the overnight into tomorrow, that tornado threat pushing a little bit further to the east. And then as we look at day 3, we're pretty much done with things. So we get a bit of a break before this. This is really incredible. On day 4, now we're pushing this up to a pretty decent chance of seeing some severe weather in the same areas. So unfortunately, it looks very active across the south and very rainy too. In fact, it might be too rainy with some heavy rain possible across Tennessee, Kentucky. I mean, really pretty much all these areas could see more than 3-4 inches of rain. And that's going to be an issue up here where you've got some snow on the ground too. Some of that's liquid equivalent and into parts of the northeast because more snow is on the way. This would be the snow that we're seeing right now. This is the official forecast from the National Weather Service. They're starting to pick up on some of the snow on Saturday a little bit further to the west. But either way, a couple of inches here across New England, especially across northern parts of New England. We're talking about over a foot of snow into northern Maine, and then some lake effect kicking in behind this too. So there could be some heavier snow bands moving off of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Not as heavy, though, off of Lake Erie, as we see quite a bit of ice here on the lake. Further to the west, snow definitely starting to show up this morning. We're getting it right now, and this would be your total accumulation forecast through, let's take it through Thursday now, just so you get the idea. Look what happens on top of this. The National Weather Service already picking up on top of more snow that's on the way. So this isn't what we're seeing now. We're going to see, let's just pretend you get 6 inches here towards Milwaukee, and then you might add 6 more inches to it by the time you get up Saturday. And it might not be done by Saturday. So this forecast is only going out that far. Across the Central Plains, a lot of this snow back here already done, but we're still going to get more snow on the way. And more snow into the mountains too as we head into the weekend. Freezing rain is going to be a problem. We've got multiple winter storm warnings, even an ice storm warning here into parts of Ohio for some heavy freezing rain, and that continues also into parts of the Appalachians, into the Northeast, back here across the Great Lakes, down into Illinois, Indiana, and maybe even as far south as Arkansas with that freezing rain. That starts to wrap up, though, as we move through the day today. The snow pushing into Chicago. The heaviest snow looks to be heading into the afternoon and evening hours here from southern Wisconsin down into central Illinois. Northwest Illinois, you're going to see some snow, too, or I should say northwest Indiana, and then you get a transition to rain from Indianapolis south. Heavy snow moving into Michigan, and then high pressure building in across Texas. So dry weather. As this cold Arctic air builds in, temperatures will be on the way down. And now we look to our next storm, which will start to bring some snow to the Rockies. But this overrunning moisture here, too, is going to bring some snow into parts of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and then into Michigan as we head into the weekend. And across the west, an incredible amount of moisture moving in off of the Pacific. Strong winds, too. Could gust 40, 50 miles per hour. And then once you get into the mountains, we could see gusts as high as 75. The National Weather Service is talking about that. A really impressive look here. Feet of snow in the mountains of the Sierra down into Southern California. Once our snow levels drop, there could be some snow into the higher mountains here. But again, the flooding could be catastrophic just with the mudslides possible with those burn scars. And then the snow pushes inland. We could see snow into parts of Arizona, northern Arizona. It's probably going to get some snow out of this into parts of northern New Mexico and then into Colorado. A heavy dump of snow, good for skiing. Might be too much snow, though. Got to watch for those avalanches, too, especially where we get feet of snow, which is certainly possible. And then as we push this out a little bit further across the west, more moisture moving into the Pacific Northwest, into the northern Rockies, with some snow up into Montana, especially into the mountains here, close to Idaho, down into Wyoming. And we stay relatively active. All right, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.